But can you comment on that and then comment overall on gutting up to do this, but also that people need to be ready for all sorts of chicanery?
Well, the thing about that movie that really sort of makes me mad is that my dad gives so much of his time. He is an upright man. He's been married for 50 years. He doesn't need and he doesn't deserve that kind of behavior by somebody that really is almost like an assault. I mean, it really, I think, is so beneath what we should have to deal with in public discourse. The other thing is while I'm not much for lawsuits, there was a woman that he shocked and did something shocking to. The actor did. At like a PTA meeting or at a church social, and she fell and hit her head and had a bleed and a stroke, and she is suing him. And I say, Godspeed, I hope she gets a bunch of money out of that guy, because it really is unfair to misrepresent yourself. And
well, it's also... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just think it's unfair to misrepresent people and to come in and do that. And it's this whole shocking thing, but it's kind of what's made our country go downhill, I think, culturally and as a people, that we have such trash on TV, such trash in the movies. And, you know, the more we get of it, it inures us, and it makes us think that, you know, that stuff is okay because it's all over TV and the movies. And so, the moral standard gets lower and lower.
Well, it's also very dangerous. We're showing some of the video here where they're doing the interview and the light breaks, and they ask him to step into a room, and then that's what my wife called it. My wife, as a woman, got very upset, saying if that had been a woman, he'd have probably gone to jail. I mean, getting somebody in a room and then sexually advancing on them, and your father basically shoves him out of the way and screams at him and runs out of the room.
Yeah, sort of a double standard. I think really there should be some kind of, assault charge pressed. But the problem is with politicians is none of these things hold up in court, and we don't really have much for defamation in our country either. They end up, if any of the Hollywood actors are ever defamed or accused of something they didn't do, they go and sue them in England, because in England apparently you can win defamation. So here I guess there's just not much recourse. But you were talking about winning, and one of the amazing things is, because you hear people back and forth on my dad's campaign, he didn't win. In many ways he did win, because I look at it, every time I see him on the television now, I say, we've got somebody that represents our point of view who is getting some attention. We aren't yet winning the battles, but we're at least included in the debate. Before he ran in 2007, 2008, our side, other than you, Alex, and some of the people on talk radio, we really weren't getting a fair shake or getting any kind of representation as far as part of the debate, and now we are.
Well, I've never really talked about the Sacha Baron Cohen situation here much. The reason I brought it up to you, Dr. Paul, is because I think you need to be ready for these type of setups, and I think, we know the Federal Reserve means business, and we know the Federal Reserve was clearly implicated in kidnapping a congressman's baby. We know that they've done hit pieces on folks. This is the global ruling elite. I just wanted to commend you for your courage, your father's courage, and I also wanted listeners to know that once we commit to supporting you, we're committed. This is a war, and that's it. And I'm asking my listeners to fully commit to you and your father and the work they've been doing.
Well, I appreciate that, and we can't do it without you. And I was involved in the grassroots part of the campaign across the United States for my father. I met a lot of the grassroots supporters. And if there's anything we can do, we're really going to try to include the grassroots in this. We've already had students. I'm going to meet some students on Saturday night who traveled here, some of them from Idaho, California, and Indiana and various states that are already campaigning for me here in the state. So we're going to do what we can, and anything that your listeners or the grassroots do for us, we will be very much appreciative.
Absolutely. Well, we just appreciate you and all the great work you've done, Dr. Rand Paul. And again, the website for folks that want to visit it is RanRun.com is the Money Bomb site. And then his official site is RandPaul2010.com, and it is up right now, so that's good. Servers are testing out nicely there. We'll take a few calls, and then we're going to end this official interview with Dr. Paul here in just about 5 minutes. Matt in Ohio, then Mike in Sweden, Michael in Mass. That'll be the 3 calls we have time for. Matt, you're on the air with Dr. Rand Paul.
Hello. I appreciate you taking my call. And I wanted to say thank you, Dr. Paul, for hopefully choosing to run for the Senate. I think you definitely stand up for every person in the country who honors individualism and honors the Constitution when you do that. because there certainly aren't many alternatives, who are running for office who do represent those values. My question was regarding the Federal Reserve. What do you think the odds are that the Federal Reserve may bankrupt itself by the activities in buying up all these, toxic assets, these CDSs and car companies and whatnot, similar to the way it bankrupted itself in the 30s, or at least allegedly did? I don't know that was ever made public. And the fact that the response back then was, to make owning gold illegal, to collect gold in order to shore up the Federal Reserve's balance sheet.
What's your question, sir?
What are the odds that would happen again, and what do you think would be the response, by the nation this time?
Yeah, what's going to happen if they try to ban the gold, give us paper back, and then double the price a year later? Are Americans going to put up with that? I mean, most people didn't turn it in back then.
Right. I don't think the Federal Reserve really will go bankrupt because they basically control the money. So what happens is we get bankruptcy in another form. They liquidate the debt by printing up so much money that they pay back the debt with cheap money.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's what's going to happen. Is the real danger is not a bankruptcy of the Federal Reserve. The danger is, I think, runaway inflation where the money becomes worthless. I fear more a time like the Weimar Republic in 1923 where the Germans carried their money around in wheelbarrows. The workers were paid twice a day because between noon and 5 o'clock, the money lost half its value. That's the kind of situation I fear, and the unrest and the civil disorder that comes with destroying the money. Whether or not people will give up their gold, I think people will give up their gold about as likely as they will be to give up their guns anymore. And I think that's the one good thing we have going on in America is there's a lot of still independent spirit in the countryside. We don't necessarily see it from our politicians, but there's a lot of independent spirit out there that's not going to give up easily.
Well, speaking of lying, they've introduced scores of bills, the most draconian anti-Second Amendment ever, and then they get up on the news and say it's all a conspiracy theory, stop buying guns at record levels, stop buying ammo. I mean, how dumb do the Democratic Party think we are? I mean, this is insane. And Sotomayor wrote a book saying we have no right, and they're about to confirm her. I mean, don't the Democrats and the establishment understand that this will start a shooting war?
Yep. All you have to do is show up at the machine gun shootout in
Knob Creek.
Knob Creek. I was there earlier this year. 3,000 people came that day, and those are 3,000 people that aren't giving up their guns and ammo too easily.
Absolutely. Let's take one more call here. Maybe keep you over. You'd agreed to do the hour, but I don't want to keep you too long. Mike in Sweden, you're on the air with Dr. Rand Paul. Go ahead.
Thank you, Alex, for taking my call. I appreciate your work, Mr. Paul. I was just wondering, Alex, if you and Dr. Paul know anything about the Baha'i faith and their plan for a new world order.
I know that's like a sponsored UN religion, and I've run into Baha'i folks that are listeners, and I run into some that are pro-globalist, but I don't know that much about it. Kind of a strange question for our guest.
I'm unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, we're unfamiliar. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, it says on Wikipedia that the system that they envision for the future involves a world parliament, a world police force, a binding world tribunal, and a universal bill of human rights, and so forth. I know a lot of religions are pushing that. In fact, Rand Paul agreed to stay to the end of the hour. I was just going to let him go early. Stay there, Doc. I want to get your comment on this on the other end. Plug the Money Bomb address one more time and take one more call from Michael in Mass, because I want to get your take on Dr. Holdren, the White House science czar. I'm sure you've seen this. It's been all over the news. Writing an 1,100-page textbook about wanting to drug our water and forced abortions and CPS taking all our kids at birth. I wanted to hear what your take is on eugenics on the other side and these globalists with Dr. Rand Paul. The website's RandPaul2010.com. Ours is Infowars.com.
This is the shipping version of the Liberty unit. It's the basic unit that we work with. It consists of 14 cases and a pail of sprouting seeds and a sprouter. Extremely well balanced, and this is the one that we adjust for special dietary needs. like diabetics and people with gluten intolerances. Also, those who are concerned about not having any soy products or textured vegetable protein, this is the unit that we adjust for special needs. All of these one-year supplies are extremely well balanced. They have all the fruits and vegetables and dairy products, everything that you need for a normal diet, and it fits most people. But if you have special needs, if you're a vegan, or if you're a diabetic, or have gluten intolerances, please call us directly and we'll be able to adjust your unit to fit what you need. The 800 number is 800-810-4441, and that will get our administrative office and we'll help you as best we can.